Great. So we have Reid and Mark here today. We want to do a short discussion on Coco NFT, a great project. It's part of the Rarible ecosystem. Maybe we can do a short intro. Reid and Mark, how did you guys, start? How did you guys get into the crypto space? Maybe a short, intro, short background from you guys would be great.
Yeah. And just so everybody's clear, everybody watching this, we have one other co-founder, Brody, unfortunately couldn't make this time. So there are three of us. And I could give you the background on how we started. So the three of us have worked, or I've worked with the two of them in various other capacities, one at Hootsuite, one at Zapier. And we got involved in this was, between both those companies, the specialty is on building platform integrations and making things easier for users to connect systems. And so when we were looking into the NFT space at the beginning of this year, I was inspired by my wife, who's a photographer and runs a business on Instagram, has 2 different Instagram accounts, and spends quite a lot of time building up that. And it's highly visual. And when I was thinking of NFTs, I was like, how does someone like my wife get into this space? Who's never done anything with crypto, and when I started to look into how to do it, it's quite complicated. There's a lot of steps involved. There's not a good starting point in many ways where you can just, as with many other systems, just sign up with my Facebook account or continue with Instagram, that just like gets you going. And so we did the ETH Global Hackathon back in March, which Rarible was a sponsor of. And that's where we learned about the new upcoming Rarible protocol and with lazy minting. And that's where things really clicked because, connecting with Instagram decreases one barrier, but eliminating the upfront gas fees is like a whole other barrier that was potentially even more significant. So that's what really made things exciting for us. And, we built out our little POC during the hackathon. We pitched it to, Alex and Eric from Rarible. And ultimately, I think we got their top sponsorship prize from the Rarible crew. And we also got one from Pinata. And so that kind of just made us like really excited. And that's when we started to continue to chat with the Rarible team and learn about the DAO and what we could do there. That's kind of like what caught us all going.
Awesome. So all three of you met at Zapier?
Two
of you. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Reid is kind of the common point in all this because Reid and I worked together at Hootsuite on the sales side, and then he worked with Brody at Zapier on the partnership side. So we he kind of brought us all together under this in this project.
It's really cool to hear the origin story of Coco NFT. I mean, I was also at the ETH Global NFT hack with Mystery Drop, and so we got the third prize, and we knew that you guys were like the top. And it's like, oh, it's really cool that we are all in the same space right now, in the same part of the same DAO. So really cool to hear.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so what's your kind of like, how do you guys, what's your specific roles like in the project? Does one of you guys focus more on the tech or on the sales side, marketing?
Mark, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So Brody handles all the things that deal with crypto, all the contracts, working with DAO, sorting out how to do the lazy minting, how to get it to show up in the right places and the right formats with the right data, all those sort of intricacies. I take care of all the back end systems, so making it run. Also working out with a few of the front end people that we've engaged in sort of building out and architecting the entire app. And then Reid kind of runs around and has built the business. So while sort of Brody and I have been sort of like, sometimes feel like we're sort of just hacking away at a project, but Reid's built a company around us, and that's, I think, one of the really fascinating things. And yes, the technology is neat. Yes, it does what we say it does. And I'm fairly confident it'll scale as load comes on, and it'll be really useful for people. But we have a community team, we have a social team, we have design team that are out there in the world driving up interest in not only NFTs but in what we do and how and what our mission is. And I think that's what's one of the really cool things about what we've done so far.
That's awesome. Maybe you guys can also reiterate a bit on the vision and what is Coco NFT, maybe like what's your one-liner or your how you describe it.
Yeah, so our mission is to make it easy for creators to get started with NFTs. That's our main mission. The first tool that we're releasing in that is a way for creators to make their Instagram posts available to sell as NFTs without any upfront fees. So that's what we're doing. And yeah, like going back to that vision though, like we want to think about other things that we can do as well that just makes it easier and easier to get started. We know that the NFT market has seen some phenomenal success for a lot of artists already, but it's barely scratched the surface in the amount of creators that are out there, and the amount of different types of creators. Like I think there's a certain style of art and a certain style of project that have done really well so far with NFTs. But you think about just your Instagram feed, or maybe even things like TikTok are really exciting to think about, because all of a sudden you have like travel photography. You have food stuff. Like there's so many, like even restaurants posts that I would buy. Like my dog is named after a sushi roll from a place in Vancouver called Miku. If they ever minted one of their Instagram posts of like the type of sushi she's named after, I'm definitely getting that. And like there's so much more fun. Like there's we're seeing things like poetry and getting into the NFT space now. And I think there's so many creators out there that are disassociated from everything going on within crypto today. That just being a company that's focused on those entry points and getting an education to help get people started, it hopefully is going to serve us well, but also help the community a lot.
Mm-hmm. What I really appreciate about Coco NFT and the vision of what you guys are building is it provides an easy on-ramp for creators and who are content creators already, in Web 2. And I think from a third person point of view, seeing the app being made and seeing demos of it, it really makes it easy and sort of obscures the technology a little bit, which I think is very useful, especially in this stage that we're in, right? Like, I mean, let's be honest, like the big UX, the user experience in Web3 needs a little bit of an improvement. And so I appreciate that Coco NFT is sort of like obscuring that, making it easy, with Instagram, and possibly other social platforms as a jumping off point to NFTs. And from there, it might open up to other Web3 worlds, right? Like DAOs and, tokens, social tokens, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was, I mean, I love a lot of the things going on in the Web3 space, but yeah, you could definitely tell certain projects are very like crypto maximalist, I would call them, or I think they're referred to as, where, it's either crypto 100% or crypto 0% right now. And I think we're coming in at a strange angle where we're trying to like meet the two in the middle. So yeah, we've talked about a lot of the Web 2 to Web 3 bridge. And it's funny even saying terms like that, because you say Web 3 to anyone who's not in the crypto space, and they're like, what on earth are you talking about? So yeah.
For me, it's kind of the natural progression as technology has kind of been created, and then how do we get it used by the masses? We had the same experience with email in the 90s and Hotmail. Like if it wasn't for Hotmail, no one would have an email account because they made it easy. In the early days of social, just being able to, eventually Facebook got to a point where it was easy to upload images and connect with your friends. And now we're sort of at the same point again, where all this technology exists, but it's very obscure and it's opaque to the users. They don't know how to connect things together. And I think that we have a great opportunity to marry these different worlds together and make it easy so that people have a wallet and they don't really have to discuss what kind of wallet they have and what's, what a wallet is, that they just have this thing that contains all in our world, the NFTs that they bought.
Yeah. We would love to sort of like come back to like the whole Web 2 and Web 3 bridging. But we're curious, why build on top of Rarible protocol? I'm pretty sure you guys have options. There's different protocols within the NFT space. And yeah, I think we're just curious, like what's about Rarible protocol that caught your eye, or what made it useful for Coco NFT's application?
Yeah. So my background in particular is working in like technology partnerships. So I'm quite familiar with like developer platform systems from the largest tech companies in the world. And I think the reason I'm saying this is one of the reasons we were drawn to Rarible's protocol was their participation in the ETH Global Hackathon was critical, because that's how we learned about it. But it speaks a lot to the type of platforms that are successful in the world, and it's businesses that actually are putting resources into building platforms. And I think Rarible is one of the, I think only really NFT players in the space right now that is putting a lot of, at least in the marketplace side, that's putting a lot of energy and a lot of resources into providing an amazing experience for developers to build better and better products for the NFT community and creators and collectors out there. And we believe in the vision that they're building towards and the things that are going to be built on top of it. Talk about, how, a minute ago I said, we barely scratched the surface with creators on it. I think we're even earlier when it comes to technology that's built on this space. I think that is so rudimentary today, and it makes a lot of sense to work with partners who are investing in that and who see the vision for technology that's built on top of their platform as a way to exponentially grow what they're doing. So that was one of the biggest reasons to do it. Obviously, things that helped along the way, like the Rarible having a DAO that allowed us to tap into an active community already to help as early testers, fans of the product, get us feedback before we had even built anything, was really helpful. Because we were working with people who knew the space, who understood everything. We're in like Discords with people who respond to our questions when we have things to figure out, and that's incredibly helpful. But once again, I think it speaks to that like platform nature and working with someone who gets that and who's building towards that. You want to be, if I, as a good Canadian, I can quote Wayne Gretzky on, skating where the puck's going. And when you want to partner with people who understand that and see that. And I think Rarible understands the power that a protocol can have in the NFT space and is investing a lot in that and the community around it.
Yeah, no, totally. I think, certainly Rarible, at least the DAO side of things, hopes to incubate, really cool projects in the space. And, certainly they see that in Coco NFT. Yeah, Max, do you have any sort of like follow-up questions?
Well, I was wondering like what the experience was, like what were kind of the stages, or how did it go? But I think you touched on that a little bit already. But yeah, how was this first part of the journey? And what would you like to point out, or is there room for improvement? Those are also things we'd be curious about.
I think
Oh, yeah.
I think from a technical perspective, it was a journey as well for us as it was for Rarible, in the sense that we didn't know exactly what we were doing in this space. We were still learning a lot of things about how to write contracts, how to sign them, be able to build out different wallet infrastructures. So we were going through this learning process while Rarible was building out the software in the back end. And so because of that, there were a lot of what exactly, we weren't sure what was going on because we weren't sure if it was us or if it was the other side. We were asking for things in ways that didn't, maybe we didn't word them quite properly. So there was, because we don't necessarily understand all the language to describe everything, because again, we come from an integration background and a lot of Web 2. So there was kind of a bit of growth there on both sides as the protocol was kind of being developed and used, and then also how we want to use it, how we envision using it. But I think that when we look back at it, although it probably took longer than everybody really wanted it to, in the end, I think we got a better product out of it because it was highly collaborative. It wasn't, here's our API, good luck. It was, here's something, try it out. Okay, here's some questions. How about this? Oh, okay, let's look at that. Oh, it's not working quite right. Oh, okay, let us go fix that. Right. So it was very collaborative in that sense, and there was a lot of there was good communication going back and forth. So I don't really know how to say where an area of improvement is, because I think the process that we went through got us a good product, and it wasn't overly. I've done integrations for a long time, and this one, the biggest thing that I find, and this one had it, was just communication with the partner. That if you're communicating on a regular basis, you feel like they understand the problems that you're having, you understand the problems that they're having, and everybody can kind of empathize with that, and then build on top of it. So I would say that the most important thing for us is that the communication is there, is that we have access to the people who can answer our questions and can take our feedback.
Absolutely, yeah. This is just a question of me from myself, just out of curiosity, how, because we touched on integration, CocoNFT, Rarible protocol. I wonder how it's like integrating with, say, a big tech company like Facebook. Or is their APIs open? Is it hard to sort of like pull resources from them? I'm curious.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah. So on a technical perspective, although having been through an evolution at Hootsuite with both Twitter and Facebook, there were times when it was really easy, and then it got really hard because the whole industry changed in 2018. When all of a sudden there was this regulatory crackdown and that they were trying to respond to. But I would say that they are very opaque as to what's going on. You sometimes get some good contacts where people will kind of give you and tell you what's going on. But the bigger the company gets, the more walls that they put up, and the harder it is to kind of get information out. So I would say the early days with those companies was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, it kind of degraded a bit. I don't know, Reid, you could probably comment a lot about on the partner on that side.
Yeah, this is something I love, though. Like I've spent the last 4 years exclusively working with the largest tech companies in the world and building integration partnerships with them. I love it. I kind of described that analogy. It's kind of like a pig wrestling in the mud sometimes, though. Like I just enjoy getting into the weeds on things, figuring stuff out. It's fun for me. Yeah, how is it working with them? I think they're great depending on what you're trying to do. And I think you have to remember that these are massive platforms that have been put through, like, any sort of use case that you can possibly imagine has tried to been thrown at this. And so they're trying to control for a lot of different variables that are out there. And so when working with them, it's important to understand, and they, most of the time, they try to have really good documentation on stuff, but understanding your, like, I always describe it as like swim lane, so to say, on like where you're playing and how you're keeping in line with the guidelines that they've given. You're going to mostly be okay, short of, a congressional hearing popping up and something happening. Then you're like, well, not much we can do there. So yeah, but at the same point, it kind of keeps things fun and exciting because, it's not like building on, an SMS API that's just, you know exactly what's going to happen to it over the years.
Yeah. 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 I feel like Reid has a positive, like, mature sort of like point of view with these things, and I really also love how Mark touched on how oftentimes it's opaque, it's a walled garden, and you you really got to figure out, like, okay, like, what are the things that I need, how can I use these, say, their APIs, their resources to actually apply to, like, what I'm building, which at least to me, I don't know if you guys agree, is sort of a little bit of a contrast from, like, Web3 and decentralized systems, where most, at least most things are open source. Most things have, mm, so I would say maybe half of them have good documentation to at least, like, start on.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you guys sort of like, is that accurate for you guys to sort of like that contrast, that comparison between Web 2 and open source, like, systems?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, yeah, I mean, certain ways, certain things are open, certain things are closed. Um, I don't know. It definitely shows, like, a maturity, though. I mean, like, a lot of things were more open back in the early days of social media APIs. Like, you could almost do anything. And then certain things happened where they needed to curtail and cut down. I think it's still really early for a lot of the Web3 space, and it'll be interesting to see how open things are versus how they might get to, depending on abuse or how you control for that. Like, right now, I know within the NFT space, you have a pretty interesting problem with, like, bots, and, like, Discord scams are, like, incredibly rampant.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're leveraging, technology to make a lot of that happen. And so it's interesting how you weigh over time the pros and cons of, your system, with what works and what might not work for what you're trying to build. But that's ultimately how you get there. But yeah, I mean, you have really cool products that, I mean, I want to shout out to, like, Pinata. We work with them. Their documentation has been, like, phenomenal. Covalent, if you're familiar with them, they have an amazing documentation and amazing platform to leverage in the crypto space in particular. So, like, there are really, really amazing other tools that have, like, built platforms in this space that are I mean, this whole space is seemingly different tools that are tied together. Yeah, so I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Max, yeah, do you have any?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe on this note, like, I'm curious, like, how you position, like, Coco NFT, like, on a spectrum, like, what is, like, the business model, or is it even a business? How do you see that evolving? No need to talk about any future tokens or anything potentially, but
no worries. Yeah. We've had a lot of questions on when there's going to be a Coco token. The short answer is keeping in mind, like, our target market is people who are new to crypto, right? We didn't want to throw a token out at them. We had a lot of conversations, particularly with, like, crypto VCs have asked us, like, when's the token coming? How can we get, the safety note for the early tokens? At the end of the day, we're hesitant to do it right now just because it's so early, and our target market is truly people who don't get this. And I think if we were to start by saying, like, oh, now you need a token, it's a lot right now. Maybe in a few years, as things evolve and stuff like that, it might make sense. But we have been having a lot of discussions on, like, different things that we could do around a tokenomics. Obviously, things with, like, creator tokens are very fascinating for what we're doing. And are there ways that we can potentially do projects around that aren't full on tokens, or, like, how do you make an entry point for a token for creators is an interesting concept. So yeah.
I'm curious. You mentioned, the target market or target demographic for Coco is newbies. People sort of like falling down to the rabbit hole of crypto. I wonder if, and forgive me if this was already part of your documentation. Is there any, like, fiat sort of like integration? Can people use, like, credit cards or?
Yeah, not right now. We've thought about it. Where we've right now, in terms of like where we're at in the closed beta, we've focused a lot on the creator flow. Once that's out there, we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on the collector flow as well, and like that purchase side. And yeah, big request from ours. On the flip side of like making this easy for creators to get in there. Well, how do you also make it easy for collectors to get in there? Like you look at what's happening on like Flow, for instance, and some of the projects like on Nifty where they do allow credit card checkouts, and how you can do things like that is certainly on our minds. Because yeah, if you can eliminate that for collectors, I think that's a pretty big selling point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah. Another question maybe. So you started with Instagram. I'm curious, like why, that was the first platform, or why that platform basically? Why did you pick that?
Yeah, like why not TikTok or why not all these other platforms?
Yeah, great question. My wife's big on Instagram. So when I was first starting this, that was a big one. But also really critically for us is authenticity and credibility. Like we need to make sure, like really early on, like I'm sure you've all seen things where, every Discord that's from a popular creator now has a channel dedicated for when someone reporting fakes of their art out there. And this is not unique to the crypto space. I mean, every Instagram creator who has probably more than 5,000 followers will tell you at some point they've found a fake Instagram account that uses their name. And like they might replace an O with a 0 and it's just their content again. And, this was really rampant in the early days with memes. If you remember, like you had accounts like Fuck Jerry and stuff who got in some hot water for a lot of the stuff that was going on. So it's not new. Like this is a known thing to happen. It's the internet here. But what we wanted to do is to make sure that on the NFT itself and on our platform, we're only allowing authenticated users to post or to allow to sell as NFTs content from their account that we're approved, that we're seeing from Instagram. They own this post, and we're also putting all of that in the metadata for the NFT as well. So anybody purchasing an Instagram post through our platform, they can always click on it and it'll take them straight to the Instagram post, straight to the creator's account on Instagram, so that you can always say like, because it might be the same post and a name that looks the same, but we're allowing collectors to see like, this is, here is the post that was authenticated by this user. It wasn't done by a different user. It wasn't manually uploaded as an image. So that was one of the reasons we went with Instagram, is because they had an API that allowed for that. TikTok, interestingly, just released that style functionality about a month ago. So really great timing.
And also Instagram, they've been at this for a long time from a partner perspective and integrations. Like it's not only that we knew how to integrate with Instagram, we knew it was going to work because it's been around for a decade. So things weren't going to change. Once we were approved, they weren't going to change. We have relationships there already, and we have experience with it. And also, there's a lot of things, a lot of great things that go on in Instagram from an art perspective, and it's great for us getting out of the gate with something that we didn't have to worry about two different moving pieces at the same time. We knew Instagram was going to work. We knew its API was always going to work. So as we're dealing with the Rarible side, now that is stabilized. Now we can go look at some other partners as well who might be new to this game.
Awesome.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Do you so Instagram is huge, so it makes a lot of sense. Are there like so you mentioned, Mark, there's a lot of artists as well. Is that like your primary like target audience that you want to like, on board, or how are you guys looking at this?
Well, I look the influencer space that I've worked in are individuals who are creating some sort of art for their fans. And Instagram was sort of the first place these people landed, and now they're exploring other avenues as well. But I always kind of liken this when I talk to people about what we're doing at Coco NFT. I always come back to the art world because it's about collecting. It's about finding unique pieces that talk to you and putting them together in a collection. And I think it's the collection that really kind of makes the art work. like a single piece of art is intriguing, but it's a collection of art that really speaks to you, because it shows you either the journey of the artist or a journey of the curator in these pieces, and that's sort of it's what I kind of draw on from this, and that art is something that it's in the eye of the beholder, right? So it doesn't have to be classic impressionist art paintings, right? It can be some of the stuff that we've been collecting over the last couple of weeks, those kind of images. Those are art to people, because to me, it does it talk to you? How does it make you feel? And then as a person who's collecting it, as you're curating these, how does that collection make you feel? So somewhere like Instagram is where a lot of that art exists, and it's a way that you, as a fan of a number of different or a genre of influencers, you can go and now create a collection that speaks to you and has meaning to you.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. Mark, when you mentioned about like art, and I certainly, well, my background is in music and also visual arts, and certainly I use Instagram to sort of like show people my work. I wonder, and I'm curious if to hear your guys' thoughts on this. There's something about Instagram, and I guess the whole sort of like social, like Web 2 space, how it's sort of made content accessible and free to all,
Mm.
i.e. free, like say for example, I mean, Reid, you mentioned that your partner is a photographer, right? And typically, well, I would assume that they may get like paid gigs, to shoot photography, or if it's their own sort of like fine art photography, they possibly like sell it. But there's something about Instagram that sort of flattens all of that, where it's like, okay, well, I'll post a picture, maybe I'll get a like, and when like when, so I guess where I'm driving at is like Coco NFT comes in and says, actually, you can monetize this if you want to, or you could create tokens so that people could actually collect them. um but I'm just really curious, like it's almost inviting a paradigm shift to consumers. It's like, oh, now I need to pay for it, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm just curious, like, if you guys,
Yeah.
is that something that you guys talk about, or?
Absolutely. So I think there's two interesting points to this. One, I'll start with, I think one of the most interesting things that I've observed that the NFT space has created is all of a sudden you have, I would say, hundreds of thousands of people who previously never collected art. Like, there's nothing behind either of you on this call. But I bet if I looked at your wallets, you probably now all of a sudden are an art collector, which you weren't previously. And I think that's one of the coolest things, is that you have a massive shift. Like, I don't even know if I fully understand it yet, how big this shift is, in people who may have owned like 3 pieces of art tops in an average house, and only had what you could show in your house, which you may have shown to, I don't know, probably 100 people ever in its entire life of that piece. And now you have pieces that you can pick up from artists everywhere in the world. There's no shipping. There's no, you don't need to run into them in a street fair or anything like that. You can find anybody, anywhere. And there are amazing platforms that are allowing you to share it with anybody, whether you send someone your Rainbow link, your Cyber link. We've been having a lot of fun lately with a tool called VR Land, which is basically like Cyber, but 3D and with Zoom built right in. So you can invite people to walk around your gallery and chat with them at the same time. And I think the fact that you can now show which creators you support, you can show the pieces that you've collected, everything like that just makes this, I think, gives the reason of like, it's not just, hey, you need to buy my art, or like you need to buy my content. I think it's allowing people to show their support for a creator. It's allowing them, obviously, a lot is for investment. You want to like, hey, I really like this creator's work. They only have like 5,000 Instagram followers today. I think they're going to blow up. things like that. And I think the other one is just like, you collect what you like and you want to show it. Like, you follow someone on Instagram a lot of the times you like their work. You might not even like them as a person sometimes. You're like, honestly, every time this person does a story, I hate when they talk, but I like what they make. That happens sometimes. And maybe you just want to get that and add it to your gallery somewhere, or you want to, like, you know, there's even, I don't know if you're all familiar with like Mural by Netgear. I can never believe that I'm saying the words Netgear in a cool conversation, but I am these days. They make probably the most exciting and most approachable physical like digital art frame that actually looks nice and works really well. But yeah, I mean, being able to get things like that into your home and pushing things out from your hen or your, you know, your wallet is amazing. And I think it just changes the dynamic of like what it means to collect art and what it means to be a collector. Like, you don't need a storage and you don't need to deal with Sotheby's, and well, unless you're collecting CryptoPunks and stuff like that, but that's a whole other topic.
That's so true. That's so true. I think I love how you articulated that, and also identifying too. Like, you're right. Like, I used to not collect art. I mean, even though I'm an artist myself, it was just the barriers were high for me. And you know, some things can be expensive, but you're right. I think the past 3 or 4 months, I've just been collecting different generative art, and it's like it's really a cool thing. Um, Max, do you have any follow up questions to that?
No, but
No?
it is. I'm also trying to wrap my head around this a bit, like the whole shift from, you're on Instagram, you have your audience, you get the likes, you get the double tap, but now you can actually you can actually buy it and have a more personal relationship. I don't know if it's more personal per se, but you can actually have that art. Do you think it does become more personal or not? Or
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Fans of Instagram followers of less than 100,000 are rabid, and they love their influencers. And so the more personal connection that they can get with their influencer, maybe I'll explain this. They're looking for that personal connection with their influencer. And so whether or not it's a shout out from the influencer to them because of something that they did that was that they thought was neat, or in this case, being able to purchase some of their art, and I think that really does bring a really tight connection, and that's what those fans are looking for. So here we go now. This whole idea of being able to buy NFTs, and it's not just here's an image that I screen captured off Instagram or downloaded. I own this. It's part of my collection, and I can, again, as you said, you can show it to people. And these are the Instagram followers that I really love, and here's my collection, and this is why I've put these particular pieces together. And yeah, I really think that this is just it's a great way to connect it, give the fan the opportunity to connect even closer with those influencers.
Absolutely. I wonder if you guys heard of the rumor that Instagram is actually exploring collections. Did it come off come on your radar?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think we got sent that by like a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool. Especially, I mean, as I'm sure everybody here is familiar, Facebook has their own chain with Libra that they've done nothing with in I have no idea how long it's been. So at some point they'll have to come out with something to show what they've been doing for the last 5 or so years. I truly think there's when I went through, I think it was one person on Twitter posted a few screenshots of something. Yeah, they're probably thinking about it. They'd be silly not to. I think it's a question of if they actually deliver something. I think what a lot of people, particularly in the NFT space, fail to remember sometimes is like, this is such a small space relative to the user base of a platform like Instagram. And so for them to all of a sudden switch on the light for like something like an NFT and crypto for something that has a user base in like the billion plus range, I think is just pretty far out. Like they just got into officially doing like referral partnerships for influencers as a product feature. And that's been a thing for, I don't know, probably 10 years now. So I think I'm sure they're exploring things internally for this, but I think we're a ways away from seeing them fully implement something. And if they do, it's probably going to be on Libra, which, a lot of people in the, Ethereum space aren't going to be totally pumped around, because then you need to rebuild all of those things that give you utility, like cyber and stuff, all of a sudden need to support Libra, things like that.
Yeah. So I guess related question. I'm curious of Coco NFTs like roadmap. I know that you guys are you guys in beta or alpha still right now?
Good question. We're in a closed beta right now, is what we're
Okay.
calling it. Maybe that's an alpha as well. But in terms of anything simple, people don't know the term alpha.
Yeah, it's an invite only at the moment. So we're kind of keeping control over who's minting posts, so that we have a relationship with them. So if they have a problem, that we feel we can reach out and talk to them about it. So it's working out really well, because when there are hiccups in the system, we're not just getting reports, we can actually have a dialogue. So that's working out well for us.
I'm curious, who is part of, you don't need to say the accounts, but I'm curious of the demographic, or at least the influencers, the initial stage of influencers that you reached out to, who is beta testing the product, and what are their feedback so far?
Yeah, I can take that one. So we've to date worked with mostly, I'd say, less traditional influencers. We've certainly been chatting with a lot, but in terms of who we're putting on a platform, it's more been your traditional like artist style creators. And we've had some great feedback. I think number one, people are just amazed on how fast they can get started. A lot of people, and how the fact that it actually didn't cost them money. I think we get a lot of people skeptical that at some point they are going to have to spend money. So probably the two pieces of feedback we get right away is, wow, that was easy, and it actually didn't cost me money, which is great. That's kind of what we're going for. But then there's certain things aren't working as cleanly as we want. We want to make it on like our own custom collection, for instance, on Rarible, which we're about to do, so that it doesn't appear just in like a Rarible collection. If we want it to go to a CocoNFT one. And so there's a few things that we're working on before we put like higher profile accounts onto it. We want to make sure that everything's like a little bit more buttoned up to get to that stage. So that'll be the next stage of our kind of closed beta, is onboarding more and more people.
And when do you think the timeline would that be?
Good question. I think we're pretty close. I'd say maybe 1 to 2 weeks away from that.
Oh, wow. That's pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
go ahead, Max.
I'm not sure if this is maybe a bit out of topic, but you're onboarding the creator side. Is how do you see like the collector side getting onboarded? Is that something you're looking at as well, or it'll maybe come organically from the influencers or creators that will share it through their social media?
Yeah, good question. That is one of the things, like right now, we're certainly hoping that, by the fact that we're a social product, and we're hoping that we grow quite a bit organically through people saying like, hey, if you want to purchase any of my posts, shop my feed, is kind of the verbiage we're thinking about. You can go to my Coco profile, and here's how to get there. That helps us draw in some collectors. And I think ultimately we'll have to hear from feedback from them and hear where things are working, where things aren't working, to like make that a much better experience. Yeah, we're definitely thinking about that as like what we need to focus on once we have a much clearer or much more refined product for the creators first.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Mark, you also hinted at this a bit earlier. You guys are collecting NFTs, right? Or you're buying and selling stuff. You guys want to touch on that a bit?
Maybe Reid, you can.
Yeah,
talk
that's
about
my
that.
expertise.
You're a lot closer to that.
I guess before you go, Reid, I would like to frame it just a little bit more, because like me and Max were just like looking at the Coco NFTs like Twitter, and we were just like, oh wow, like they're really like reposting and posting about maybe their own collections and other people's collections, other artists, and so I guess that was the source of the question. We're just
Yeah.
curious. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So like our focus in building up our own collection has been on supporting new creators. But that's our mission, right? We want to help get creators into the space. Well, one of the ways you're going to do that is by helping them see success in NFTs. And so we've bought, I think, the first NFT from, I don't even know how many artists at this point, honestly, or maybe we bought the second or the third from some, but we try to find creators who are just getting started in the space. We try to collect pieces that we think are fun, exciting, cute, whatever it is. And then we share it. And that's kind of been our thing. The only projects that we've like resold have been like generative things. Like I think we just last weekend sold our first pieces from our collection, which were Cool Cats and the Sup Ducks, which gave us like 3 ETH from selling 3 of them, which we then immediately turned around and started to buy from new artists. So that's kind of like our little cycle there. We might start to sell artists, like we've supported some artists who have just blown up, which has been amazing to see. But it rings a question like, do we keep this in our collection, or like, do we, now that they're clearly successful as an artist in the NFT space, do we sell their piece and support other new people? Because our goal isn't to have like a museum style collection of things. Our goal is to continuously support new creators. So we're thinking a lot about how we do that. Or is it cool to show like the history of artists we have supported? So we've been weighing those two things as well. Great, like, and it's been really cool to see over the past, like, I think week or two in particular. I think there's been 4 or 5 artists that we bought like one of their first or second posts from, tweeted about, and then like within 24 hours the entire collection sold out. We can never get it again. Like we had one, I don't know if you know, like Ruru is a really exciting new collection, and all of a sudden the Cool Cats artist, Clown, found out about them, and I don't think we'll ever get another Ruru again. I'm glad we have like 3 of their pieces in our collection, but they're definitely in that realm of now successful creator, which is exciting. We've also been really supportive of a lot of the, like, I can talk for way too long on this, but like NFT Thailand is just blowing me away. Like more and more people need to be looking into NFT Thailand and what they're doing, and the artists that are coming out there. And I say that for two main things that make me most excited about it. One, they're the only country in the world that I've seen come together and support each other in like such a ridiculously meaningful way. Like they're like pumping each other constantly, and they're always cross promoting each other's content and pieces and discords and everything. But they've also done community events that I've never seen in this space yet. Granted, I'm very new in this space, so maybe it's been done. But like they did a durian event that's going on right now, where all of these artists, and I think it ultimately is in like the thousands now, produced art in their own style featuring a durian, and used like hashtag durian NFT to like promote it. And we picked up like 15 or 20 different durian NFTs at this point. I'm building a gallery right now to feature them and maybe host an event all around it. But it's just been so cool to see artists produce stuff like, and it's not like they're sharing the same piece of content. Like we're talking everything from like sexual durians to really cute durians to scary durians to kitten durians, like everything you could possibly imagine, just being done. And they've also, Thailand's going through a lot right now as a country, and they've even started to do some like political ones, where you see what's going on right now with the protests in Thailand translating into things in the NFT space, where artists are showing their support for movements through NFTs. And I just haven't seen that yet from any other community that's out there in the NFT space. And yeah, so it's been really, really, really phenomenal to see that happening.
I guess for people who are not familiar with durian, it's a magic fruit from Southeast Asia that is delicious, but also very intense smelling. So
Definitely, yeah.
Called the King of Fruit in
The
Thailand.
king of fruit. The king
Yeah,
of
yeah.
fruit. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a bit about our collection. I don't know, focus, if you will. Yeah, I think it'll always be something we're really passionate about and really excited about for that. And so I've been glad to see people have been excited about what we're doing as well.
Yeah. I mean, what I love about NFTs is that it offers a sort of participation of or establishment of a certain economy, like a certain microeconomy, you know, a creator microeconomy. I mean, even with you, Reid, saying that you know, collecting from emerging artists, and then at some point also sort of like selling the work, and then also reinvesting again on smaller artists is such a beautiful thing. And to your point also on NFT collectors, NFT people, artists, creators, collectors, pulling in resources to actually help a cause. I've seen that also in the wild, and so that really gives me a lot of hope in terms of like this whole NFT space, and I think the wider crypto space in general too. There are certainly a subset of crypto that is really thinking about the social good, you know, how we all win, sort of thing. So
Exactly.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Well, I gotta, yeah.
Max, how are we on time?
I think we're nearing, yeah, we have 1 minute left. But super cool. This was super interesting. I love that you guys are getting, you know, getting into the weeds, buying stuff as well, supporting artists. And yeah, I'm super excited about Coco NFT. I think
Awesome.
it's gonna be very cool. Looking forward to see what's gonna happen. And also for the launch, I still have to join the alpha or beta. Is there anything you guys wanted to share with the community before we close?
Say, you know, follow us on Twitter. We'll announce when we launch, sign up, share us what you're excited to share. I love seeing from people like, hey, you know, here's my Instagram feed. I'm really looking forward to minting it. We love those posts. So, you know, just get involved. We want to help everybody get started here, or tag creators who you want to see get started with NFTs too is cool. Yeah, it's been a pleasure speaking with you both. Looking forward to seeing what we all get up to next.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody.
Thanks again for your time.
You
Appreciate
too.
you all.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Peace.